So hi everyone, Richard Deacon from Canada. The Okanagan Valley is a wine region, believe it or not. We have some similarities to the Willamette Valley in Oregon and also Sonoma. Pinot Noirs are what our valley is known for, and quite quickly becoming a really world-renowned region. So we have a city called Kelowna. There's a few cities in our region, but Kelowna is a town of about 150,000 maybe, does that sound about right? Fastest growing city in Canada. Mid-sized city. It's probably the most desirable mid-sized city of its size in the country as far as its beauty, proximity to nature. We border Washington State at the south, and then our lake goes up 100 miles, and that's our region. So I've been in the business this is my 4th year. I'll talk to you a little bit about that path as we get through today. So I haven't been around a long time, but I've had a pretty good rise and worked really hard in these last few years. I was on a panel a couple of years ago, I guess was that in California, and we talked about, I talked about my desire to really go after the high end of the market. So that's what I have tried to do and had some great success with it. So it's a tough one. It's tough to make a living and hang your business on luxury listings. But I wanted to do it. And I think it was just my background where I had come from before, which was in advertising and working with luxury brands.
Okay, so to put some context around this, how many transactions did you do last year?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
He's being modest.
I'll come back with the real numbers. I'm not 100% sure, but I think we're 100 roughly, just underneath that.
Yeah, just 100. That's awesome. Being 4 years in the business, that's amazing. And total volume was?
Exact numbers. Quite a bit.
His average price when he told me yesterday was what, 2 million?
Yeah, I was going for an average price point of twice the average in our market. Our average in the market is $1 million. So typically mine's 2 million.
So you can do the math there. Incredibly successful, so kudos to you.
Thank you, now I'm turning red.
Okay, so my background is 9 years, actually, to this month. I really have had my real estate license. Previous to that, I was in consulting, and I went around the country and sold a lot of hope to a lot of large Fortune 1000 companies that they could grow their sales organizations into a different, broader sphere, typically migrating their price points up and their overall wallet share of spend. So that's what I did in the past. Transition, 9 years in the business, decided to pivot. Much like Richard, I moved to a new city and decided that I didn't want to travel on planes anymore. I had a baby at 40 and decided that this has got to stop. So I wanted to have a business that I could build in my own hometown and have people that could rely on me and that I could help and serve. So that's the trajectory of the business. 3 years ago, my husband and I, Matt, decided that we were going to buy into England Volkers. And we purchased a franchise. We located that franchise in St. Petersburg, Florida, the #1 beach, by the way, in the U.S. Yes, so come visit us. The weather is amazing. It's much better here than in Vegas. So that was the first shop. We opened that in 2019. We then opened a second location just last month, the 22nd of February, in St. Pete Beach. Volume, I think, is important as a context setter. 43 million last year for our team. Brokerage in the 3rd year is doing 140 million. So that's my story. So to be honest with you, I'm going to always be real when I have these conversations, in that when 9 years ago we decided to transition our lives into a new city and go into real estate, my goals were very small, to be honest with you. They were probably pretty large for the time's sake of what we were trying to accomplish, and probably thought, we just wanted to replace the income that we have as a starting point from what we were making at that time. So we started at a low goal, and this series is called $1 Million Mindset. Never in my wildest dreams did I set out and say that I wanted to make $1 million annually in real estate. That's not what we set out as a goal. However, transition forward, we started with something small and then we grow that. And so we think about, from a planning perspective, we started thinking about doubling revenue each and every year. That's what we looked at. That was our strategy, and we mapped out plans to do that. So how did that go for you?
Yeah, similar. In fact, the only thing that's different for me is that I did want to get to that $1 million number, and not for any other reason than just it was kind of an easy number to pick, I guess. It wasn't easy to get to it,
Right.
but so I had a 3-year plan, and I wanted to be in private office. I've only been in the business for 4. This is my fourth
4th full year.
Last night. Right, you understand.
I have to tell you, we were in the
now?
COVID room getting testing, and I'm ahead of him in line, and I hear them say, "Oh, how are you?" And I hear this male voice behind me go, "I'm really hungover today."
Well, it was a nurse.
She was a nurse. I thought maybe she could help me. It was an IV.
Yeah, right.
COVID tests make the hangover go away. So I did have a goal. I really wanted to get to that $1 million mark within those 3 years. Was able to do it, which has been amazing. Really wanted to double my business, in fact, in those 3 years, which I was able to do actually, right almost to the exact number. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it this next year. But I actually wanted to be inducted into private office, which I had the honor of in October. And I think if you don't know a lot about private office, I would definitely encourage you to talk to me or talk to a private office advisor just about what it means. It's not just some snobby exclusive club. I mean, for me, I think it was because, I do feel that the real estate profession is not always held in high regard, and it bugged me a little bit. And I've also worked with some agents in our town, and probably just anywhere, that are great at what they do, and others that aren't. But I really wanted to approach it a little bit like the conversations that I had with my lawyer or my accountant, a doctor, just that trusted professional. So for me, the private office designation was something that I thought would really help set me apart. I was also going after and competing with agents that were in the luxury segment that have been in the business for 10, 15, 20 years. So I felt like I needed that as a bit of a calling card, if you will, to get those listings.
So he was much more strategic in his thought. To be very candid with you, I was busy opening up our shop, and my operations person came to me and said, "You need to get in a private office." And I said, "Well, I really love to do that. I'm not sure I have the time to do that, but let's try." So anyway, I went through the process, and it is an extremely laborious process to do, but it's worth it, I will tell you that. So what I can say to you in the hindsight and looking at it and being accepted in a private office is such a tremendous opportunity to learn, because I wanted to know the secret sauce of what he or anybody else that would be in private office knew. So I knew I didn't have all the answers, and I wanted to be amongst people that would raise my game. And I felt like private office, once I got in there, like, this is like the best thing ever, because I have a bunch of colleagues around me that are just doing the most amazing things in their markets and in the way that they treat clients. And it's just been just such an extraordinary experience to witness that and understand that at a different level than I would in my own current market.
And borrowing ideas, stealing ideas from colleagues. There's just some great stuff, and you can apply a lot of those tactics in your own markets, whether it's marketing or just the way that, even some stuff that you and I were sharing yesterday, just about how different you handle your business, and some of the things that I better get on if I'm going to continue to grow like this.
Right.
I think it was about 40 shops that I went to in maybe a year and a half, 2 years. I mean, there's lots of faces in the room. So because we're a wine region, I would traditionally bring wine in or order wine from our region and pour it at a shop. I put my family through going to shops when I was on holidays all around the world. Just getting out there and saying hello. Sometimes I would shamelessly bring my listings in and have them all over the counter. And it was a lot of fun. It was a great way. But also out of that, now it's probably over 50 referrals that I've received in the last maybe 2 years. But the 40 shops that I visited to translated into about 38 referrals. It's unbelievable. But I think that just goes kind of hand in hand. What I was just going to say, there's no secret sauce. It's just putting in the work. I probably work too much. You need to definitely figure that out. We were talking about that a bit yesterday too. If I need to get more stuff done, I'll just work more. I need to work a little smarter and maybe harness a few other things. But putting in that work is just so important.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have a saying, and it goes along with your shoes actually, is just do the damn thing, okay? So there's things you don't want to do in the business. There are things that you think you maybe don't need to do or shouldn't do. Just do it. The phone is your best friend, and planning and escalating. Like, he came to the business with, a really nice clean slate and a really great market. For me, I came into the business at a different sort of agency level, and I thought, well, I don't know anyone here, so I have to start at a completely different path. At Engel & Volkers, you don't have to do that, which is amazing. So I cost ourselves a lot of time, to be candid, worrying about sort of like, how do I migrate myself up? What I recommend you do is focus on the things that you want to do and the things that are going to be making you money. Our philosophy is, if you're going to spend $1 and you can get a return of $5 or you get a return of 10 or 20, choose the thing that you're going to be good at that can get you the 10x or 20x return. So that's our philosophy. So, you know, his business is so different than mine. We run a volume-based business because our market is not all luxury. So I know there's going to be people sitting in here that don't have a luxury market base that's full on as you would, which is, you know, we still make our own way. And we make our own way migrating sort of elegant, nice, beautiful luxury listings. At the same time, we do all kinds of listings at, you know, at the same exact time. So we just say yes to pretty much everything because we always think that that's going to lead to another good experience, another client, another relationship, and it does pay back in good karma.
Two things that I did and still do. 10%, I put 10% of what I earn typically back into marketing, whatever that is, you know, whatever is working for you, whatever you want to try out. Not all of it's paid, but, you know, even just the cost for staff to work on, you know, whether it's putting a social media account together or whatever it is, and then 10% back into education or learning. So, you know, lifelong learning doesn't just have to be about real estate, and I guess part of this being here would qualify for that, but just you know, continually trying to learn and get better. That's books, you know, that's anything, frankly, but I think it's so important to continue to feed that mindset. And, you know, at the end of the day, I deal with clients that are far smarter and more sophisticated than me, and they're all doing that, and they kind of expect that from me, is what I believe.
Agreed.
I think
So I came from a performance background where a lot of metrics were in place, and we still look at that as a holistic sort of like front, because just doing the thing, you have to figure out what is the thing that we're going to do, and that we look at, you know, sort of the legs underneath the table is how we really look at it, and how many legs do we have in case the business changes. This is an ever-changing business. I can't believe how quickly this sort of environment that we operate in changes and evolves, right? So you've got to figure out your path. What is that path? Just be you. And I can appreciate so much the philosophies and the sayings that were being talked about today, because you can't be not you. You have to be you, but figure out what that is. And the other thing I'd say is, if I asked you right now to take out a piece of paper or your phone, and you write down, do it right now. Just pull out your phone or whatever. Write down the number of income, the amount of income you want to make in 2022. Write it down for just 1 second. Got a number? Okay. Double it. Does that seem scary? Yes, it does. Do it anyway.
Why? Why is it scary, do you think?
It can seem daunting. Okay? It can seem like, oh my God, I can barely make whatever I've got to put on this paper right now. But here's the thing. If you think about the doubling of that number and you put that on a piece of paper and you think about that every single day, and when you have a question mark in your mind, do I do this or do I not do that? Is the doing part is going to get you to that doubling of that number. The other thing I'll share with you, and from a metrics perspective, if you think about working backwards into that number, so whatever that number is, you're going to need to basically take that, divide it by 0.0275, which is 2.75%. Margin erosion is happening, right? So we're just going to say most of the deals are going to land you at an average of 2.75%. That's going to give you your volume. Okay? Then you can look at your average in your market or in your shop. Divide that. That's going to give you a number of transactions you're going to need. Guess what? Divide that, or actually take that and multiply that times 50, and that tells you how many conversations you're going to need to actually execute on that doubling of the number.
How many people have that figured out, or how many, raise your hands if you got that formula? On the first number.
Yeah.
It's so important, and you know, the numbers get less scary, or at least they become obvious as far as what you have to do. If you've got to make, you know, if you've got to have that many people in your leads, you know, your hopper, you better get on it, right? And those numbers can become very easy to, you know, kind of prove out.
Exactly. But if you don't focus on it, it's not going to happen. This business, he did not reach what he achieved just by accident.
Oh, and by the way, our commission's half. With 3% is the total that we charge, and we have to split that. So 1.5%. I know it's ridiculous, and they say the realtors are overpaid.
Wow.
Like Americans. Well, is it higher in Ontario? It is a little bit higher in Ontario, right?
5.
5.
But
You
you're
split
seeing,
5, yeah.
You're seeing a lot of downward pressure.
So we split 3.
Now.
Yeah. So
Now,
sorry.
we also charge more. I'll charge 5, 6 on some deals, if it, you know, even the higher end deals, because it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah. Good point. Thank you for the Canadian vantage point, because I think in American terms, but yeah.
Yeah, I bought everything from Brand Central that I could when we first, still have it. Some of them I haven't used. No, I've used almost everything. It's just so important. You know, just incorporate, you know, the Red Book, incorporate the presentations. You know, I put a lot of time into, with Jen's help that works with me, into curating our gift boxes and our bags for clients. Just last week, a bunch of different people had referred me, just put together some, you know, some beautiful E&V and also, you know, favorite kind of wines and foods from our region. So I think using both the you know, the tools that exist in Brand Central for your presentations, but also just buying the amazing merchandise. Talking to head office. Head office has been, you know, probably maybe I annoy them sometimes, but they're very helpful in getting bits of information for me to use if there's updates that you're, you know, looking for from a data perspective too. Mm-hmm.
So he's talked about the E&D side of things. I'm an extreme person when it comes to lead generation, I find. So, you know, whatever CRM you're going to use, it's the one you're going to use is going to be the one you need to get. I don't care what it costs, but you need to get it and use it. Assemble your database. You've got to use that in some way. You have to touch your people. You're really good at touching people in a meaningful way. Right? So, you know, you've got to really think about how do you interact with people? How do you interface with a client? What's that look like? I often say to my team, luxury is not a slip-on dress. You can't just put a luxury-looking dress on and act the same exact way if you want to elevate to a different price point. It has to change. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, and those tools, you know, EMB has a lot of the tools that I don't personally use Resora, I use something else, something similar, but there are some great tools that exist, you know, within the ecosystem already. But if you don't like those, just go out and find, you know, whatever the best one is for you, and then tie those back to those numbers. I mean, if you've got a CRM, well, you have to have a CRM system, even if it's just a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet of your leads. But tying those back to, you know, ultimately the numbers that you want to achieve, you know, is important.
Yep. Think about this, right? So you're one person. How many of you have an assistant? Okay, every hand should be going up. I don't care if you hire that person for 10 hours in a week. You need an assistant. How do we achieve this? There's no way, absolutely no way, that we could do what we do without people around us. I would probably say that I'm the queen of leverage because I know I'm not good at things. I know I drop balls, so I have to have people around me that basically pick up the things that I drop off. So having an assistant, organizing your life, guess what? You guys are awesome at selling real estate. You're probably not great at paperwork and making sure you touch people on a consistent basis. So get people around you. Leverage the power that sits around you, or go find that person, because that's the biggest lever of change you're going to have. If you want to make more money and you want that double number, of the people that want to double, who doesn't have an assistant? Well, I said a different way. Okay, my number one goal for you guys is go get somebody in your life. You have to. You will not make it to your doubling of your number if you don't.
Yeah, you've got to invest. Yep. It's just the same as that, spending the money on the marketing or education.
Yep. I'm looking at my husband.
He's really good at it.
Is he the one that keeps you accountable?
You know, he can. Sometimes he'll say to me, you know, that really sucked. What we did there really stunk it. He's like, we have to get better. And he's right. And I hate to say it, but yeah, he's oftentimes right. When he says it, I know he means it. And we're like, okay, we got to change. However, the one thing I will say is you need a coach. If you don't have a coach, look in your shop. You probably can enlist your licensed partner or someone in that shop to coach you. We have always had a coach, and I fully believe in it. And it helps us get out of our own headspace, because you can get down on just a little wheel. You know, we get in our wheel, we keep going on that, and you have to have somebody really to kind of pull you out of it. And
accountability, right? Having that person to be accountable.
Actually, yeah, and say, did you do what you were supposed to do? Did you just do the damn thing? Yeah.
You know, and I think it's constantly innovating. We've got to continue to innovate. Even though we have a business that can be somewhat automatic and we can rinse and repeat a lot of the things that we do with transactions, continually innovating is so important. and keeping ego in check, right? Oh, sold a $10 million listing, sold a $5 million listing, yeah, so what? Keep that ego in check. I mean, it's healthy to have an ego, and it can be part of the brand if you use it in the right way, but at the same time, it certainly can be the death of you too.
True.
Why is innovation so important? I mean, I think we're easily forgotten, and especially the way this business is changing, and with sale by owner and technology platforms, we've heard a lot about that over the years, the last few of these conferences. What's our point of differentiation? I mean, why are we valuable and important, right? We're inserting ourselves into what often is the largest transaction that people are dealing with in their life with a huge asset. So what value do we bring to the table? And it's more than just obviously steering a negotiation or coming up with a market evaluation. I mean, we're people and we're connecting with people, and I think that's it's very important as well.
Innovation is so critical. Like he's saying, think about this, right? The statistic that we heard earlier today was for every one person that knows, your friend, they have 8 other influencers in the real estate world talking to them. So while you're talking to them, they have other people talking to them as well. And guess what? They're probably not as good as you are. They want to discount their commissions to get the deal done. There's a whole bunch of things that are going to go on, right? So you have to be uber clear on your innovative sort of like value proposition. Like, why are you going to hire me? Take me on the journey of what that looks like. So if you're not crystal clear and can articulate that very, very well, you need to innovate yourself, is my opinion, to make sure you have that, because our competition is increasing and the margins are diminishing. And people think that, oh, I'll just hire some discount brokerage to go make this happen for me, and why do I need you? So
I think part of that innovation too, again, is I came from a marketing background, so it was more natural for me, but that innovation in what you're doing from a marketing perspective. Did something last week, did a mailer in our neighborhood, didn't work out. I bought this URL, ilovekettlevalley.com, we held a little contest in the neighborhood for people to share what they loved about this particular neighborhood to try to get more listings. Made a mistake in not activating something, so it wasn't even going to work. And then unfortunately didn't get any calls from it. Fine, am I going to not do any more mailers? Absolutely not, just it didn't work. So it was something I thought was clever, I guess it wasn't, but continually innovating in marketing. And then I guess if you're putting that money and time in to educate yourself and to read more and to take seminars and to come to events like this, use that to innovate yourself in your approach and solicit feedback. I think it's one of the things that, we talk a lot because we should all listen more, I think was the one topic of one of the presentations we had. Mm-hmm. But I think at the end of the day, we need to listen and solicit feedback from clients and colleagues. I'm not great at it, and I'd like to do a little bit more of it personally. Well, work hard, definitely, which I think you probably all know, but it literally does take that hard work. And that for you might be 20 hours, 50 hours, 100 hours, doesn't matter the time. It's just you've got to put in that effort, and it pays off, and clients will recognize it. Answer your phone. It's amazing how many realtors don't answer their phone. Get back to people. I mean, for me, communicating is just such a key, right? I think sometimes maybe you can even over-communicate, but it's not a terrible thing to make sure that your clients and colleagues and other realtors are always hearing back from you. I think that's a really important thing.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I guess I would say, aside from the other things that I've given you as a piece of advice, is that if you're not going to take your fair share, somebody else is doing it for you.
How so?
Well, they're doing the calls. They're doing the follow-up.
Right.
So when you think you're over-communicating, guess what? Are you?
Right.
You're not. You're not. Somebody else is going to take that for you. So take your fair share is my recommendation.